Hello, fellow book lovers. My name is Roger, and welcome to my channel, Rogers Reads. So, when it comes to keeping track of the books I've read, I'm a little bit of a data junkie in that regards. I've always kept yearly lists of all the books that I've read and all the books that I'd want to read in my TBR list, mostly in Excel. But I also keep a books I've read list in my bullet journal as well. So yeah, I'm a little bit obsessive when it comes to lists and tracking. So anyway, this year I came across the most awesome book tracking spreadsheet created by Brock Roberts, who has a channel that's called Let's Reads, and I'll put a link to that down below. So I have the spreadsheet up on my computer here. And by the way, it is a Google Sheets spreadsheet, so you'll need access to Google Sheets or a Google Drive account. I'm sure it's probably in Excel too. You might need just to do a Google search to find the Excel version of that spreadsheet. So the first, on the bottom of this spreadsheet here, we have several tabs. And the first tab is the Acquisitions tab. And this is where you keep track of any books that you've acquired, whether they be e-books or physical books that you've purchased, or even books that you've borrowed from the library. So if you look at some of the columns that we have here, we have the date, did you acquire the book, title, the author, age group, and there's drop-down lists, and I'll show you how you can populate these lists in a bit. And then genre, format, whether it's hardcover, graphic novel, trade, ebook, other, audio, length, the publisher, location where you purchased it, whether that could be eBay, Amazon, Book Depository, wherever, whether it's physical or digital, whether you just purchased it or whether you got it from the library, whether you have an ARC version of it or whether it was already on your TBR shelf, and the cost that you paid for it, as well as the list price. And then if you bought it from the library, you can choose library and then the due date. And the due date turns red once the date has passed. So then the next tab in the bottom is the Book Survey tab. And this is where you list the books that you've read. And this includes such fields as the gender of the author and of the protagonists, or protagonist, depending on how many there are, whether there's more than one. The age group of the novel, whether it's adult, young adult, middle grade, or kids. Again, we have the genre, length, format, who the narrator was, if it was an audiobook, how many hours long was it, whether it was in physical, digital format, pages, year published, publisher, again, who was the publisher. Same fields that this drop-down list is populated by the same data that populates the publisher in that first spreadsheet we saw. A star rating, what star rating we would give it, whether it was purchased or borrowed from the library, whether it was free or whether it's an ARC. And again, status, a couple of different statuses you can do, reread, whether it's reread, current reading, DNF, or return unused, whether it's a series or a standalone, and if it is a series, what book is it? Date started, date finished. We also have a diversity field here, so you could choose how diverse the book was, whether it was race, mental illness, disability, combo, author only, chronic illness, and you can also add your own to this list. So the third tab down here is the DNF tab. This is the tab where you list all those books that you didn't finish. Now, it's very rare that I DNF a book, so I actually don't have any here. This is the one that came with the spreadsheet, titled Hurled into the Fire by Herbert J. Sucky book, which is kind of fun. So the next tab is the Summary tab. And this is the tab for those of you who are data junkies. So lots of data on this sheet. So genre tells you how many pages you've read of each genre. Format, books by publishers, age group, location, But wait, there's more, and it goes down and down. So the years published, author gender, author country, so lots of fun statistics. There's also a charts tab too, if you prefer your data in more of a visual format. Pages by genre, acquisitions, the format. Where's my page donkey? So just to give you an idea of some of the charts that you can use. Now, there's another tab called the series tracking, which comes in handy. Very often I start reading a series, and if there's like a year or more between the series, I'll completely forget about this series, and if I do remember, I'll forget at which point that I left off. So the series tracking tab allows you to track the series by title, the author, gender, what the next book is in the series, and how many books are in the series, and the last book that you completed. So right now I'm reading the Charlie Davidson series, which is a wonderful series. It's hysterical, so I highly recommend it. I'm probably going to do a video on it one of these days. So anyway, the next book that I'm reading is Trouble with the 12th Grade, which was actually just released. And this is book number 12 in the series. Last book I read was 11th Grade in Moonlight. So once I read the new one, then I will move the next book entry to the last book completed, and then write in the title, tell me the title of the next book if there is a next book. I really don't know how many she's doing for this one. So then we move on to the Categories tab. The Categories tab is where you enter in your selection for the drop-down lists that you see in the Acquisitions and Book Survey tabs. So at the very least, you'll probably need to end up adding some publishers under the imprint category, but you can add your own genres in, age group, location, where you bought it. If you have a favorite bookstore where you purchase your books, you want to add that in under the location. Now the author does make, you'll note up here, once typed, do not reorder these lists as it will break the results in the other sheets. So if you've already entered data in the acquisition and the book survey sheets, then you're not going to want to rearrange these lists here. Keep them as is. Now, if you're starting out from scratch in the beginning of the year, then you can enter in all the imprints that you think that you can think of at the moment. Sort them in alphabetical order, and then you're good to go. And then you can enter in your data in the acquisitions and your book survey. And the credits tab is where all the credits for the author and any contributors. Now I added in this extra sheet of my own called the TBR. This includes all the books from previous years that I've acquired but haven't read. So this is kind of a guilt tab for me, reminding me that I have plenty of books already that I've purchased and that I should start working my way through them. So I'm going to try to make a point of reading at least one book a month from this list. So when next year comes around, I'll be adding any unread books from the Acquisitions tab, books that I've acquired this year, to my ongoing TBR tab. And this is kind of something that I've neglected up to this point, keeping a running TBR list. So that's a brief overview of the Reading Spreadsheet of Doom by Brock Roberts. Brock actually did an extensive walkthrough of this spreadsheet. I think it's like an hour and a half video, which I'll link in the description below. I'll also add a link to where you can download the spreadsheet itself. And as I mentioned, it is in Google Docs. Now, once you download this spreadsheet to your Google Drive, you need to choose File and then make a copy, and then give it a name, and in order to save it to your Google Drive area. Otherwise, you won't be able to use the spreadsheet. It'll be locked. So I think that's about it for this video. I hope you found it somewhat interesting. So I have a question for you. Do you track your reading, books you've read? Do you keep an ongoing TBR list? If so, what do you use for tracking? And that's about it for this time. If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you click the like button, and I will talk to you in the next video. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.